In the 5 years from 1989, Loyalists killed 26 members of the IRA, Sinn Féin and their families. They also killed 120 Catholics who were not involved in the conflict. But although few people knew it at the time, the Loyalist paramilitaries were also thinking about how to bring the conflict to an end and establish a peace in which the union they had been fighting to preserve would be guaranteed. To do this, the UVF adopted a twin-track approach, killing and talking at the same time. The killing was done in public, the talking in secret. The strategy was directed by a small group within the UVF leadership known as the Kitchen Cabinet. A leading member of the cabinet was David Irvine, who developed his political ideas while serving an 11-year sentence for possession of explosives. He'd studied Sinn Féin's pronouncements and concluded the IRA was considering peace.
That was the first glimmer that something was happening in the Provost. And that had to be followed up. It had to be reeled in. What's going on? Let's find out.
And you had to respond?
Well, I think in essence we had to understand and then had to gear people up for the capacity to respond.
With Loyalists now out killing the IRA, there were secret moves in the UVF's inner sanctum to end the slaughter. The intermediary was, surprisingly, a Catholic trade unionist from Dublin, from a staunchly Republican background. Crucially, he could relay Loyalist thinking to the Dublin government. It was part of the vital process of building up trust. Did you think they were serious in what they said about wanting peace?
Yes, I did. I made a judgment call on one of the personalities that was there, and I believed him in particular. And when he said to me, no matter what happens outside, trust us that what we're saying to you is the truth as we know it, and we will always be honest with you. No matter what atrocities happen, we will be always honest with you, and we are equally trying to work our way towards peace.
There were also moves on the UDA side. Here, the intermediary was a Presbyterian clergyman. He became a regular attender at the meetings of the UDA's inner council.
We talked at times about the future, about their children and grandchildren, if they were spared to have them. Did they want them to grow up in that atmosphere? Indeed, that was a very telling meeting that we had at that time when we started talking about the future and children and grandchildren. The answer was that they certainly did not want their children and grandchildren to grow up in the atmosphere that they had grown up in, and we moved from that.
But to exercise the maximum influence, and with the British government too, it was necessary to go higher. Roy McGee enlisted the support of the most senior Protestant churchman in Ireland. How did the paramilitary leaders you were talking to strike you?
When I knew they were coming, I wasn't sure what I would see. I saw a group of men well-groomed, well-dressed, nervous, but most of all, I saw a group of men who said, look, the time has come to talk. The time has come to see an alternative.
But the tentative moves towards peace were torn apart when the IRA bombed a fish shop on the Shankill Road on a busy Saturday morning. The IRA claimed their target had been UFF leaders meeting upstairs. The office was empty. The fish shop was not. Billy McQuiston was in a pub nearby.
It was just a merciful thud. And everybody automatically knew exactly what had happened. So everybody ran out the door, and as we ran out the door, you couldn't see in front of you with dust. So we run up to the building, and people were scrambling, trying to dig in the rubble, and shouting, "Look, there's many people's in here," etc., and things like that. And there's women standing screaming and crying, and there's people walking about dazed, and it was just total and utter mayhem.
The Shankill had not known such carnage since the early 70s. 9 Protestants were killed and one of the IRA bombers. Scores were injured. In the week after the Shankill bomb, Loyalists retaliated by killing 6 Catholics. On the 7th night, Halloween, the UFF took terrible revenge. Masked gunmen burst into a bar in the village of Greysteel, shouted "trick or treat" and opened fire. The UFF retaliated by walking into the Rising Sun pub in Greysteel and just shooting dead 7 innocent people. How did you react to that?
On that particular day, if the UFF had walked into a picture house or something on the Falls Road and killed 300 people, I'd have been quite happy. It's amazing the feelings that are in you. Anybody on the Shankill Road on that day, from a Boy Scout to a granny on the Shankill Road that day, if you'd have given them a gun, they would have went out and retaliated. There's no problem about that.
That was shattering, because we had been at a stage where we were moving into political talking and we had laid down a lot of criteria, and Greysteel blasted it out of the water totally.
Despite the horrors, the peace process moved forward. 6 weeks later, Loyalists got what they wanted when the British and Irish Prime Ministers outlined a political settlement. It made clear that there would be no constitutional change without the agreement of the majority of the people of Northern Ireland. It was known as the principle of consent.
There is an opportunity to end violence for good in Northern Ireland. We believe that it's now up to those who've used or supported violence to take that opportunity.
But Loyalists still feared a backdoor deal with the IRA. Archbishop Eames went to Number 10 to seek personal reassurance.
I looked John Major straight in the eye and I said, "Can I go back to these people? And can I tell them that you have not done a secret deal with the IRA? Can you give me your word of honour? I'm an Archbishop, you're Prime Minister of the United Kingdom." And I simply said, "Please, John, don't lie to me." He looked me straight in the eye and he said, "You have my word." I said, "That's all I want." I said, "History will judge us both." I went back and I met them again and I said, "I am convinced the Prime Minister of Great Britain has not done a secret deal with the IRA." And they said, "That's all we want to know."
But another blow almost derailed the peace process. It came the following year after Republican gunmen shot dead a senior UVF commander, Trevor King. He was standing on the Shankill Road talking to 2 other men. They also died. Trevor King is commemorated every year. Roy McGee was nearby when the shooting happened. He was with the UVF at the time.
You could see that the leadership of the UVF were quite naturally very, very broken and disturbed about the shooting of their colleague. And one could imagine that there would be reprisals of some description as a result of what had happened.